Welcome to Milking the Franchise, the Cash Cow Chronicles, where me and podcasts watch movies. How you doing, podcast?
I'm good, Tanner. How are you?
I'm good. That's your new nickname, by the way.
Oh, great. What a great nickname. Really clever and inventive. Yeah.
I was hoping that you would call me that as well, but I guess
okay, great.
You weren't into the podcast name in this movie.
Well, I just didn't want it to get complicated. If he's podcast and I'm podcast,
True.
You're also podcast. I just feel like we're setting ourselves up for foibles.
Well, one of us could be pod and the other could be cast.
Now we're talking. Which one do you want?
I'll be pod.
Okay, I'll be cast.
I'm feeling very pod-like these days.
How you doing, Tanner? I mean, Kath?
Pod?
Mm-hmm.
Podrick, if you will. I'm doing well. Yeah, this is the show where we watch every movie in a franchise, and we talk about all the IP and all the surrounding milk that goes along with that franchise. Yeah?
That's right. And along with Pod, my name is Castifer. And this week we are watching the fourth movie in the Ghostbusters franchise. So we started in 1984 with the Bill Murray classic. Last week we watched the Lady Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2 was in there too. And this week we're watching Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Afterlife. It's spooky, all right.
So spooky.
So spooky. Chris, how are you today?
I'm good, Tanner. Trying to think. Got a little spring break coming up here soon, and I am just barely hanging on. So I just need to get to the weekend, and I'll get a little bit of R&R, which I'm looking forward to. How are you doing?
And those for those of you that don't know, Chris is in college still, so he's ready to go to Cabo this weekend, or Cancun. Where are you going?
I have all my white T-shirts packed for the wet T-shirt contests, and I don't know. My flight's into Cabo. We'll see how it goes.
Is it a wet? Did you say a white T-shirt contest or a wet T-shirt?
Wet T-shirt contest.
Oh, I thought maybe it'd be like who has the whitest T-shirt.
Much less sexy that way. Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds nice. Spring break sounds great. I wish I could have one. Yeah. I'm doing well. I don't know if you asked that, but I am doing well.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing really new to report. I'm just kind of all in Ghostbusters land all day, every day. I played a Ghostbusters video game. That was awesome. Best one of the series, which I'll talk about a bit later.
Great.
And yeah, it was awesome. Actually, I recommend it. Other than that, just kind of plugging along, working and watching Bustin'. So
Bustin' makes you feel good. So what more do you need?
So true. And getting ready for the new Frozen Empire.
That's right.
Technically tomorrow or the next day, which we will cover next week.
Yeah. We're going to the theater.
We're going to the theater, taking this to the theater. I will be filming it illegally and putting it up on the internet as well.
Oh, that's you that's been doing that all these years. Thank you so much.
Me. It's for the content. I'm just trying so desperately to get our content out there, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Got to push it.
It's going to be just me watching the movie inside the theater, but of my face, my reaction.
Oh, it's a reaction vid.
It's a reaction vid. So actually there's no video of the movie, which is
makes
I
it
don't
legal.
think that's illegal, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So look out for that on our YouTube channel. Chris, what do we do
I
What are we gonna
just am
do
thinking
here?
about if you put that up. Like we mentioned at the top, we watch a franchise from start to finish, and one of the things that we like to do along with that, every week after the episode drops, we have a little link in the show notes to go with a little survey. And so Tanner and I like to make little jokes, little goofy questions to kind of go along with the movie that we watched. So when you're listening to this, take a peek at the show notes and help us fill out the survey for this week's movie. But this week, we have the survey from last week. I am confusing myself, but I think
So
it
many
all still makes
weeks.
sense. I know. But yeah, this week we have to talk about the movie from our last episode, which was Ghostbusters 2016, also known as Ghostbusters Answer the Call or Lady Ghostbusters. So we've got some little questions that we asked. Thanks to the Ghostbusters subreddit for playing along and helping us answer this survey.
Yeah, thank you to the people that are doing it. I'm hoping you like it. I know not everybody likes the self-promotion out there, but it helps us get people involved and hopefully pick up listeners and just a small part of the subreddit. I'm not taking up a lot of space, but
and also get some voices in here that know even more about these movies than we do, right? Because
yeah,
mm-hmm.
we've came across this before where the people in these subreddits are just like they know everything, historians about these franchises, and we're kind of coming in and moving through it in like 4 or 5 weeks, and trying to pick up as much as we can. But we're not trying to be knowledgeable about every aspect of it,
Absolutely.
We will forget character names and item names and our own names. But,
it's a feature of the show, not a flaw. Yeah,
exactly. Just go along for the ride. All right. So yeah, Ghostbusters 2016, the Lady Ghostbusters reboot. We asked you what the best Ghostbusters cameo was because everybody was in the movie briefly. And every single person got a vote here. So Slimer, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis's statue. Oh, Bill Murray didn't get any votes. He's the only one without a vote.
That's not surprising, I guess. His part was kind of weird in that. I don't know.
Maybe people are mad at him for not doing a third movie.
Fair. Yeah. And everybody loves him as Venkman. He's already the best character in the franchise.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of split there. That's just a fun question. Then we asked, who's dumber, Kevin or Slimer? Kevin was what's his name? Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
And he plays a really dumb receptionist that they hire. And overwhelmingly, Kevin is dumber than Slimer.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. How could you even vote for Slimer? Come on. Kevin, he's too
20% of people did. Yeah.
And then we asked, so we got some good prompts here. What's a good name for Lady Slimer? Slimer had a female counterpart in this movie. And the names we got: Schleimer,
Schleimer,
and then Slimina.
Ooh,
crap bag. So bad. Slobber, Slimel,
Slobber and Slimer. Mm-hmm.
Slobber and Slimer. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Got a good
Slimel.
Okay, a little feminine take on it.
Slimy and then slimy right after it, but one's with a Y, one's with a with two E's at the end.
Kind of like Ashley versus Ashley.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or Ashley with an EIGH.
Oh, that's true. So we should add a slimy spelled that way as well.
Slimy. Slimette. Nice.
Like a Smurfette? Yep.
That bitch.
Oh. What did she do to that person, I wonder?
No, it's like she's that bitch,
Oh, she's that. Okay.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You strive to be that bitch. Then we got cream pie. Great.
Do you strive for that, Tanner?
I want to be that cream pie bitch. And then we got Slimabella. Very nice.
Great.
Besides soup and salad, what else is there to live for? This is just based off a joke in the movie. We got, what else is there to live for? More Ghostbusters content. Nice. Not watching this movie. Enchiladas. All I can think of is soup. Sandwiches. Oh, sandwiches, definitely. Then we got an emphatic science. Very,
Ooh.
with an exclamation mark. Then we got everything and then nothing. Two sides
from
of the coin
from
right
two
there.
different people, by the way.
I
Yeah.
know. Although I noticed because like they kind of line up, the responses line up with the order of how people responded, and I
Okay.
think everything and nothing is the same as slimy and slimy. Maybe. So maybe I thought maybe the same person took it twice and like reversed their answers.
That's not how a democracy works, Tanner.
Fuck. Wait, how's it work?
Beginning to forget.
What else is there to live for? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of the woman.
Okay.
Lamentations?
So it is women.
Lament
It's plural at the end of that sentence, whoever wrote that.
of the women, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That must be a quote from something. It could even be from Ghostbusters, and we're just really dumb.
Might be. Yeah.
In fact, I think it is that. And then breadsticks, baby!
Breadsticks, baby!
With the same amount of excitement as science. Are we talking never-ending breadsticks?
Well, I mean, if you got the soup and the salad, you know, get the whole thing going. Like, are we at Olive Garden or what?
We got a soup going.
Mm-hmm.
We must be. And then, out of curiosity, what do you think about the controversy surrounding this movie? Oh, we're going to get real serious here for a second.
Okay.
We got the hate on it being all women is dumb. Disliking the movie for not being true to its source material is legit.
Fair.
The fan base is full of cringe-inducing middle-aged men who have nothing else going on in their lives. But also, the movie is not very good. Okay, this is great. It was disappointing to discover how many misogynistic douchewaffles were in the fandom. Must be that guy who responded on my my Reddit post that they're talking about. This guy. ATC held no respect for the paranormal or the science involved.
What's ATC? Oh, answer the call. Okay, I'm on board.
Okay.
Yep.
Ghostbusters 1 has roots into the actual study and research into the paranormal. Okay. They tested it with respect while being funny, not being funny to be crude. Okay, so this person believes in ghosts. I don't get it, honestly. It's a fun
Or
film.
they are a ghost.
Slimer.
Slimy.
Slimy. This movie was lackluster, campy, and disingenuous at best. Ladybusters aren't the issue. Bad direction and misfired comedy was a problem. Give the characters a second chance with better direction as an alternate universe with a more grounded approach or less of the SNL parody stylings. Got it? Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, I thought a lot of the jokes were funny, but it wasn't true to a Ghostbuster film. I think that's pretty accurate. Like, oh, we're going to make an SNL style comedy. Woman equals bad. That's one of the answers. Great. Very thoughtful response. And then Chris Hemsworth is the ultimate Mimbo. Mimbo or Himbo?
I thought it was Himbo. Mimbo's fun too, though.
Mimbo is fun.
Overall, though, those are some pretty good answers. I wasn't sure what we were going to get by putting that on the survey. But some honestly, some well-reasoned, thoughtful responses, except for the woman equals bad one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume they're trying to be funny, but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. What franchise did they gender swap next? We got Spice World.
Great.
The Ken movie.
Good.
Mr. Hood of the Traveling Pants. We got None and I Don't Know, all of them. And we got Bond, James Bond. Batman, great. Batwoman. Wait, they did. Mm-hmm. Well, they started to make a Batwoman movie, and then it got canned.
Didn't they finish it?
I mean, pretty much. I think besides reshoots and edits,
they did it as then they just threw it away and did a tax write-off or something crazy
Yep.
with it. Are we talking the same movie? Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see it one day. They shouldn't be original, make new things. New is okay. We got Men in Black, uh, Charlie's Angels with cast of Magic Mike, Hubba Hubba. Yes,
Okay.
that person gets it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
What's Bill Murray's character's name in those movies?
Venkman.
No. In the Charlie's Angels movies.
Oh, Charlie.
No.
Oh no, wait. Oh, yeah.
He's like the helper.
Oh God, I can't remember.
Okay, never mind. I had a joke, but it doesn't work if I can't remember his name. Keep going.
We'll think of it.
Yeah.
Then we got Hidden Figures, Armageddon, and Over the Top.
Don't you want to see a lady arm wrestling movie?
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was it Basil?
Basil, that's the guy in Austin Powers, but maybe it's the
you're
same
right.
name.
Okay, never mind. I forfeit.
That's all right. And then we asked you to rate Lady Ghostbusters. I can't remember what the rating system was on right now.
It was from only one wonton to only wontons.
Right. You got to see the movie to get that. And this may be the worst reviewed movie we've seen. 3 rated at 1 out of 5.
Okay.
And, some 3s and 4s. Somebody liked it. Somebody gave it a 5 out of 5. So yeah, not everyone's favorite Ghostbusters movie, that's for sure. Yeah. Well, that's that. Thanks for taking the survey.
Yeah. And one more plug for the survey. When you're listening to this, there will be a survey out for the movie that we watched this week, Ghostbusters Afterlife. So click into the show notes and play along with our new set of jokes.
Bosley. His name is Bosley.
Bosley. Perfect. Okay.
What
I can't even
were you
remember why I needed it.
Oh no, I'm gonna want that answer. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Ghostbusters Afterlife, Chris. What do you think?
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's switch it up here. Put away Ghostbusters 2016 and move into this new one that we watched this week.
Yeah. So this one is a direct. I don't know about direct, but a sequel to a legacy sequel, maybe, to the original movies. It has people from that movie, and it stars it focuses on the descendants of Egon Spengler. This movie came out in 2021, got delayed a lot from the pandemic. It was supposed to come out that summer. So it filmed in like 2019 and kind of got pushed aside. I feel like I knew it was coming out, but I don't know why I wrote off the movie so much. Maybe it was because of the reboot that they tried. I also didn't realize it was this close of an actual sequel until we started doing this podcast about it. But yeah, let's get into it. It's directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, the original director, who's directed a lot of.
Apparently, Ivan was on set every day. Also,
really?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, and then he died in actually 2022. So I don't know if that's why the son dropped out of the upcoming sequel or not. But yeah. So that's that. Chris, where do we begin in this movie?
Man, Tanner, we begin in Oklahoma. There's a ghost chasing a shadowy figure, and we end up at like this farmhouse. We don't really know who the Ghostbuster is at this point because they're cloaked in mystery. How's that for setting the stage?
Yeah, Chris, did you pick up on who it was right away?
I mean, I knew that Egon had kind of a big role in this, and I was just assuming that was supposed to be Egon, right?
Yeah, because they never showed him, and I know Harold Ramis had been dead for a while.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's got to be him.
But from a story perspective, Egon is kind of the most important Ghostbuster because he's the one who makes all the stuff. So they kind of, you know what I mean? You can't just like swap in Venkman or Ray or anything.
What is Ray's deal? I guess Ray's the guy who just like reads the books and knows about the occult and stuff like that, right? Is that kind of his part of
Yeah,
the pack? Yeah.
I think so. And he was the one who took out the loan on his house in the first movie to finance everything.
Right. I'm just mean like, what does he bring to
Yeah,
the table, like in the ghost hunting world?
it's a great
Um,
question. Yeah.
yeah. So where do we start off here, Chris?
Yeah. So this ghost is chasing this shadowy Ghostbuster figure. We get a bunch of the shots of the different technology from the '84 movie. They've got the little what's that thing called where you pointed at a ghost and it beeps
PKE
faster?
meter.
Thank you.
PKE
They've got
meter.
PKE meter, and
Ghost
is
traps.
there's like ghost traps. There's like a whole thing at the front of this spooky house in the middle of a cornfield, and there seems to be like, did that trap fail at the beginning?
Yeah. So he's like, it starts off kind of, he's driving through the plains or whatever,
Yeah,
and he like crashes his truck and gets out. It's somebody running through like the cornfields or the fields, and he gets up to this old shitty house and has like the ghost trap there, and he's like baiting something to like come chase after him, and right at the last second he tries to hit the ghost trap and it fails, like you said.
yep.
And then they go inside. I didn't really get, I don't know all of it, but he goes inside and just sits down, if this was part of the plan or not.
I couldn't tell. Yeah, it seems like there would be more urgent matters than just having a seat.
Yeah. So he
Mhm.
immediately sits down and gets like the ghost, kind of like in the first movie, with the fog comes out in the chair and it grabs him in the chair and he dies right there. Yeah. Anything else about that opening scene?
No.
And I guess you're not supposed to know for sure that that's Egon. We already kind of spoiled it, but it's hard to talk about without doing
Hard to
that.
walk around that for this whole movie for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you get then it cuts to this family, and it's Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. We got Carrie
Great name.
Coon. Yeah.
Mhm.
Carrie Coon and Finn Wolfhard. Um, and a young girl named Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace. She's like a nerdy little girl.
Yep.
And you find out they're like super poor and can't pay their rent, and they're getting evicted from their house. And she says that, oh, I just found out my dad died, who I never knew. And that kind of sets things in motion. She basically inherits this house in Oklahoma, and they immediately set off to go claim it or whatever you do.
Yeah. They can't stay in their current spot, and this is all they got left. So they got to head out to Oklahoma.
Yeah. What else?
Yeah, that's about it. I thought I don't know. The kids were fine. We have an angsty one with Finn Wolfhard, and then a nerd with McKenna Grace. So one of each.
I thought McKenna Grace was like awesome in this movie. I don't know about the rest of everything or like the thinly written characters and stuff, but I thought she was really good.
Yeah, she did
Because
good.
a lot of times you have these little kids in movies, and it could be very cringy and annoying, like Podcast.
Mhm.
Who is
Yes.
a kid in this movie? If you, when we started this, I called Chris Podcast. We were joking about that at the top, and there is a kid named Podcast in the movie. And guess what, Chris? He's making
got
a
a
podcast. Yeah.
Tanner, are you just bitter because his podcast got mentioned in a movie that with national distribution? Are you just jealous? Do you have podcast envy of podcast?
Well, we haven't got to our 45th episode yet, so we haven't quite found our voice.
That's right. That's right. Nice callback.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I had that written down on my hand for like, at some point I got to work that in.
Got to get it in there. Got to do it.
Yeah, so they show up at this house. It's a dump. Just kind of looking around it, and then Janine enters the house at some point, right?
Yep. Yeah.
What was
Phoebe
she even
breaks
doing
in.
there?
I don't really know.
Yeah.
She shows up as Janine, I think just to let them know. I don't know. She still seems to be like the Ghostbusters receptionist.
Yeah.
But is she going to go all the way to Oklahoma City to turn over the keys to this property? I don't really understand why she was there, but
Well, maybe I don't know if you watched like all the way through there's a post-credits scene too.
Oh yeah.
They mention someone's been paying their rent, like raise rent and stuff like that. So maybe like they own this house too, and so she is the one that's like handing off the keys to it.
That could be.
I mean that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
There is a moment here where the house is shaking, so you're kind of like wondering why the house is shaking here, and people in town aren't really that worried about it. It seems like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we find out, I mean, earthquakes, Oklahoma, they said it there because of all the fracking earthquakes that have been happening for the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, is that what that's what it is? Okay.
That's what it is. And so there's that shot in the school where the kids don't even respond when one of those earthquakes comes through. Yeah. Yeah, so then we get a little bit of like world building with this Oklahoma spot. The creepy barn with all the signs out front painted, and then the family kind of goes into town. They buy some stuff at the hardware store, and they go to like a roller skate diner where
called
Finn
Spinners.
Yeah, called Spinners, where Finn falls madly in love with a girl working there.
At first sight, yeah.
First sight, yeah. I mean, is there any other way? You just gotta get in there.
Yeah, his storyline, their like little love story, just didn't really work for me. But he's, it just seemed like they really didn't have any connection at all. He just saw her and like he walked in and was like, "Hey, can I get a job? I'm 17," and yeah, I guess they give him a job like instantly. I thought there'd be more like kind of building like with him and his friends and being making friends with all these kids, but it kind of just glosses over all that.
They don't give him much to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He just kind of goes on dates with this girl so he can be at the place where the hauntings are happening. They send him out to the mine and that stuff. But yeah.
I was going to say they keep teasing throughout this that like at the hardware store that you mentioned that this guy, they call him Egon. Everyone calls him Dirt Farmer, and he was like this crazy old man who like lived in this house, and it's all creepy, and there's like biblical verses out at the entrance to the driveway, and nobody ever saw him or talked to him except for he did go buy a ton of stuff at this hardware store like all the time. But basically the town just thinks he's this kooky old man.
Yeah.
And it sets up that Carrie Coon's character, the mom, is the daughter, but like she never met him, and they didn't really go into what exactly happened. Like when did he have it? Who's the mom? They glossed over like who the mom is and who her ex-husband was. Like a lot, right? They're just not in the picture at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah. So basically, he's just a crazy old kook.
Absolutely. And at this point, we don't really know when Oklahoma, but they kind of fill those dots in like as the movie moves. Yeah. Let's see what else. They go back to the farmhouse that night, and something like the wind blows and it knocks over a chess set in Phoebe's room, and she sets it back up before going to bed. Meanwhile, Finn finds the Ecto-1, which is like completely out of commission in the garage at their spot. So kind of setting the scene for a couple scenes coming up later.
Yeah, they also they show her going to school. Her mom drops her off at school, and I guess it's summer school, right?
Yep.
Because the joke here is that it's Paul Rudd as the teacher, Gary Gruberson.
Quite a name.
Quite a name. And I guess the joke is that it's summer school, so he doesn't really do any teaching. They're just kind of there, kind of like babysitting or whatever. And he keeps putting on movies like Cujo and Child's Play for them to watch.
Yes, in a science class. It's
yeah. And that's where she meets Podcast, the kid, her friend. And you find out that Gary Gruberson is a seismologist, and he's been looking at the earthquake patterns, and that they're different than most earthquakes or fracking patterns and stuff like that. So, Chris, so wait, these fracking earthquakes, they're actual like earthquakes that are happening from fracking? I don't know much about it. Do you know?
Yeah, and forgive me, if to actually
Sure.
speak on this, I should have done a little bit more research. But yeah, the
No.
way that they get a lot of this, like oil out of the ground in Oklahoma, is by breaking up silt and slate that's buried underneath, and then the oil will come up and they can catch it. And so basically, they shove a bunch of water down into the earth and shake it to try and break these layers apart. And it's caused like a ton of earthquakes in that part of the country. Um,
Is it? Are
it lets a
they?
bunch of weird stuff into the drinking water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never
Heard
spent
about all
much time in
that.
Oklahoma, so I don't want to weigh in on this too much. But that's my understanding of
You
kind of
didn't.
what's
You
going
didn't
on.
spend your 20s in Oklahoma
I mean,
partying and.
just following the Sonics.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, I guess is the shaking of the water causing an earthquake effect, or is it actually causing earthquakes, like the tectonic plates to move?
Well, I don't think it's like tectonic plates. It's like smaller. It's on a smaller scale than that. But
Right.
when it reshuffles to release these this natural gas,
Yeah.
then when the earth will settle
Gotcha.
again and everything kind of shakes. So my
Crazy.
understanding is that they aren't super strong earthquakes, but they're very frequent.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good in any
Yeah.
way. um, yeah, I kind of wrote down right here. She reminded me this girl reminded me of Sheldon. That she was like
Yes.
a girl Sheldon, and then when I found out later, I was looking up McKenna Grace. She's in Young Sheldon. I'm not
Well,
sure if she
she studied that acting form firsthand, you know.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I have you mentioned the Ecto one. There's a lot of scenes just kind of happening, setting everything up. I think I had before that also they talked about, and I think it's podcast that's filling her in. This thing like the Shandorian curse, where miners started killing themselves, or am I getting ahead of myself here?
No, yeah. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of scenes happening quick here that are kind of setting things up. So yeah, let's go
Yeah,
with
so
that.
I think they go out to um the mine, right? Her and podcast
Yeah.
go out to the mine together, and he's filling her in on the town and what's going on. Um, and I did you. I did a lot of I figured a lot of things out with this like Shandor stuff. Did you get much information on all of that?
I didn't follow the Shandor stuff as much, so I would love what you got.
All right, because I was when I heard it was like the Chandorian curse, I saw that there's the Shandor mine. That's like where all this stuff was kind of centralized in the movie.
Uh-huh.
And I had just played this Ghostbusters video game, and the main bad guy in that, which Murray, Dan Aykroyd, so it features all the original cast and writing, and they kind of considered it Ghostbusters 3 in a way,
Yeah.
because it's really like it follows like a narrative, all the voice acting, and it's a super fun game. But Shandor is the main boss in that, like the final boss in that game. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
what is the connection to Shandor here? I'm very because I had to look it up. Like, was he ever mentioned in the old movies? And he was. In the first movie when they're in the jail cell with like the blueprints. Do you remember that? And they're like
yes.
talking about whatever history stuff. They're talking about Ivo Shandor in that scene and how he was the architect of that building that was haunted in the first movie. And
Oh,
then
okay.
he's also the guy he's basically a worshiper of Gozer, the Sumerian god or whatever.
Yeah.
Who like he built that. I don't know. He was in New York and he built a building just for fun, but he built that as a way to summon it, I guess, right? He built it exactly at the way to like summon Gozer in New York.
Yes.
But then,
And I think they connect that in this movie, but I did not
yeah,
realize that they had talked about the Ivo Shandor guy
yeah,
in any of the previous movies. Yeah, that was new.
right. So
Cool.
I did a little digging here, and that's like kind of what I found out about that. And that also, he built this town with all his followers, called Somerville, right? And they didn't really mention it, but I got the connection Sumerian god and Somerville. There's probably a
Oh
connection
yeah.
there with the name.
Look
But
at
he
you,
built this
Tanner.
town as a little shrine to Gozer to try to get Gozer to come back as well. So he comes back to life very briefly. But yeah, he's like the architect, and the architects purpose is to build something to bring Gozer back. Anyway, so that's how it all connects right there.
Yeah, and in this town in Somerville, there's an old mine where they were mining. What were the beams? What was the metal that they used to make that building in New York City? Because I did connect that.
Yeah, it's the same kind. I don't know what it was. The material was.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you for looking that stuff up. That helps.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also noticed, this is a quick connection to the first movie. The there was like a Bible verse out in
the Revelations.
Yeah, Dirt Farmer's thing out in his yard, and that was the same verse that Winston talks about in the car during that religion scene. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do remember that.
I like Jesus' style.
Either. Yeah, I remember him saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, all this stuff kind of started coming back, and I started like going on little tangents of, what are these connections to this old movie that I should know about?
Okay.
Yeah, anyway. But I don't know if I would have noticed or gone on any of these tangents if I hadn't played that game, which featured Shandor as like a main bad guy. So,
yeah.
Cool.
No, that's great.
Where are we going next?
Let's see. We've got we're back at the spooky house. So we're done. Podcast went to the mine with Phoebe. The other thing I want to mention, podcast loves Phoebe's dumb jokes, which is like a recurring bit that gets really old by about the second time that they do it.
I thought she had some good jokes. It's kind of the timing of them are bad, but like some of them are kind of fun. Science dad jokes.
That's the point, right? Yeah. They're dad jokes, but I don't know. I don't know. I thought they could have done better. That felt like kind of lazy writing to me. So later Phoebe ends up playing chess against that ghost. So when she woke up in the morning after setting up the chess set, one of the pawns had moved, so she ends up kind of going back and forth. And eventually the ghost reveals itself and it's like playing chess against her. And then uses lights throughout the house to kind of lead her downstairs into the main room, where there's like a floor puzzle here. And
it's like one of those slide puzzle things.
Right? Yeah. I really liked how they used lights like this, like the way that they interacted with ghosts in this, I thought was great. And I wish that they had done that more in the other movies. Did you feel the same way?
Well, like how it just like points, the ghost is using the lights to like point to things.
Yeah. I just felt like they could have, like, you could do a lot of stuff with that. And I don't know. I like that little element. And then like Tanner said, when they get down to the main room, there's like a slide puzzle in the floor. And what do they find inside, Tanner?
A ghost trap.
Ooh, you better believe it, baby.
And nobody has any frame of reference for what any of this stuff is yet. Because the Ghostbusters have kind of just gone away. Like it's not like a big, they're not famous or anything like that. Nobody knows what all this stuff is except for maybe Gary Gruberson.
They were big in the 80s, and now it's 2021 when this movie was supposed to come out. And so nobody knows what's up.
They take the ghost trap into school with them, and they're watching Child's Play today.
Because they finished Cujo yesterday.
Yeah. And I like how they just have Paul Rudd as just like this teacher that isn't doing anything, just not even trying to teach them anything. And he recognizes this thing as like a replica. He's like, "Oh, this is a cool replica of this thing." And then they realize that it's actually real. And he starts filling them in and saying like there hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years. He mentions, and they go, I don't know if he watches it with them, but they end up watching like old footage online of like Ghostbusters stuff. So, news footage and stuff like that from when they saved the town. Yeah. Am I missing anything there?
No, that was great.
Oh yeah. And then,
is it here where where Phoebe kind of connects that her grandpa is Egon?
No, not yet.
Is that not yet? Okay.
Cause she sees the video and Egon's in the video, but I don't think she just is like, "Oh, that's my grandpa," till she finds those glasses later.
Yeah.
I think this is where they do the tests on it. So they get like jumper cables and try to get this ghost thing to open. And it does open, right?
Yeah. Paul Rudd gives a little, like a little advocacy for science in this scene, and they jump it with one of the school buses, and it doesn't open right away. But then when he pokes at it, it pops open, and a demon flies out,
and it goes straight for the mine.
Yeah, there was something inside that trap.
Yep. And then I think Gary like takes them home, and they kind of are looking around the house. They find like this Aztec death whistle or something that like supposed to ward off evil spirits. They're just kind of, I don't know, just building up more lore here. They talk about Shandor, how he worships Gozer, kind of like what I talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of find out about Gozer here. Podcast finds a book that talks about Gozer and has one of those like dog demons from the first movie, the Keymaster. What's the second one called? Keymaster and the
Gatekeeper.
Thank you, Gatekeeper. And the picture matches exactly the demon that they saw, and so they're able to figure out that we're in another Gozer adventure, just like 1984.
Doing it again, baby. Doing it again. Mm-hmm. I can only assume that the Frozen Empire is a reappearance of Viggo, right? There's no way they created a new boss or a new villain.
Why do it when you already did it once?
Just do it again.
Work smarter, not harder, Tanner?
Yeah, so Mr. Gruberson is at their house. He's flirting with the mom. There's an obvious connection here that they're going to get together. She had bumped into him briefly at the school as well earlier in the movie. But they find like an old map of Somerville that's like written in 1,000-year-old language, but like this town is only 100 years old. And she says to keep it. She's like the mom is totally like, I hate science. I hate my dad. All of this stuff is stupid. He's just a crazy old man. So she's like very just like dismissive of everything happening in this movie.
Yeah, Bustin doesn't make her feel good.
No, in fact, I felt like her character was so thinly. Like I really like Carrie Coon in shows and stuff like that, but I felt like her character was so thinly written. Like they just like breeze past a lot of her. I don't know, her arc. But
they tried to put a lot of things into this movie. So I think like tough. Yeah, so like it's kind of hard for there to be much character development for most of the characters, because there's just so many other things that need minutes on screen.
Yeah.
Anything else at the house, or can we follow Finn on his date here?
Well, I think this is where I have the. Well, I don't know. Oh, you're right. Yeah, he goes on the date.
Yeah.
What happens there?
So Finn gets invited with the cute girl, Lucky, I think is her name. Is that right?
Yes, of Madam Web fame. Yeah.
Oh, is she? Is she in Madam Web?
I didn't know until right before we started the podcast. Yeah, Celeste O'Connor is the actress, and she is one of the 3 girls in Madam Web. Yeah.
All right, there we go.
So she's doing well.
Uh-huh. Well, she's still getting in blockbusters. I feel like that's no small task right there.
And she's in the sequel, I believe, so she'll be fine.
Yeah. So Finn gets invited. Sorry, Trevor is the character name. Finn Wolfhard, the Stranger Things kid.
His name's Trevor? I mean, it could be anything. It could literally be anything.
It could literally be anything. He gets almost no character development, but he gets invited out with his coworkers, and they have a little flirty scene sitting over the opening at the top of the mine. Soup's romantic, but he's able to connect with this girl, but they are interrupted by the dog ghoul, which like flies out and kind of makes a mess, and screws up their perfect evening.
Yeah, so they all just saw a ghost, and again, like they're not very responsive to it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they saw this crazy thing happen, but it wasn't like, holy shit, we just saw something crazy. They just kind of brush past it and don't ever bring it up again. Until like things
it doesn't really affect the plot. This scene of them seeing a ghost in real life. Yeah,
I think it was supposed to be more development for him and her getting together.
That would make sense
more than anything else, and to show like, oh, that these hauntings are coming back from the mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
a lot of the story points are weak in this movie like that.
Well, and it helps them kind of set up as Ghostbusters, right? Like she would never have joined if she hadn't been part of this experience at this point.
Yeah, they needed her to like witness it. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see what else we got. So after that, we cut back to Phoebe. She's snooping around with the PKE reader. Did I do that right? Is that the name of that thing?
That's right.
All right, with the PKE reader, and she finds a fireman's pole. These Ghostbusters, they love their fireman's poles because they put one in a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere.
They can't.
It goes to
they hate stairs.
I hate them.
Also, wait, if you have to take a fire like a pole down to get down anywhere, how do you get back up?
I mean, you can either climb the pole or you just have stairs that you take one way.
Right, that solves the problem because the pole is only for quick access down, but there's no way to get
one-directional.
back.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, unless you're like super ripped and can climb up the pole. But...
I don't know that I would describe Harold Ramis as super ripped at that point. In the 2000s.
Right.
And so anyway.
She goes down there and finds like uniforms, Ghostbusters equipment, all sorts of stuff. This is where you're talking about more lights, right? The lights are kind of helping her.
Exactly. Yeah. But so much, just all the goodies, right? All the Ghostbusters IP, all that fun stuff that we love from the movies is down in Egon's basement.
It's fan service time, baby.
It is fan service time, baby. Yeah, exactly. And so the next day, she puts the proton pack. Go ahead.
Well, she finds the glasses. She like looks in his uniform and finds the glasses.
Right.
And they're the exact same glasses that she wears. Exactly.
The exact same shape.
Same shape. They're literally the exact same like model of glasses. Yeah. Which is just,
and that's genetic, right? The shape of the glasses that you wear.
I mean, my mom wears the exact same ones as me, so I think so.
There we go.
Yeah,
proof
we
positive.
both look really good together. Yeah. So what happens the next day?
I did forget to mention the night before when she finds all this stuff. Egon's ghost kind of helps her make a couple changes and fix up the proton pack, and so now the proton pack is working. And so the next day she meets up with Podcast, and they go out to test the proton pack.
Yeah, they also, she watches like more commercials, like Ghostbusters commercials and stuff like that. So she's learning more about it. And I think this is when she really realizes that he was a Ghostbuster. I mean, obviously seen all the stuff, but she didn't really know what all this stuff was until she started watching all these videos on YouTube. And I guess the Egon ghost thing, it's implied that it's his ghost. You kind of like are picking up on it. You don't see him or anything. It's just invisible.
Right. It's lights flicking on and off, and very small, haunting stuff.
I think at some point she says, "My grandpa helped me do this" or something. So she's like under the assumption it's him. And then we're kind of clued into that as well.
Yeah.
Then they go out and, like you said, and try to test the proton pack. What happens during this scene here, Chris?
Dude? Yeah, we need to talk about this scene. I mean, they line up a bunch of glass bottles. They shoot it with the proton pack. But this scene in particular, I think this scene points to my biggest problem with this movie, which is that this movie doesn't fucking feel like a Ghostbusters movie at all to me. This movie feels like Stranger Things to me. Like 80s farm kids, like those aren't things from, or I guess 80s is for sure, but like setting this thing on a farm and having kids as the protagonists, like this scene in particular to me felt so much like an episode of Stranger Things, and not like a Ghostbusters movie. Having those two characters out, like dicking around with the proton pack. And I don't know. Yeah. I'm sure I'll bring it up again, but it just was like this movie didn't have the Venkman banter. It didn't have that many jokes. It wasn't that scary. It just kind of relied on this setting of like middle America in the 80s, even though it wasn't set in the 80s. Like the vibe was supposed to be, though, right? Like it had like a diner that played 45s. You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
There's a
Like,
little bit of that feeling that they're trying to instill into you for sure.
yeah. So I don't know. It's a fine scene, but I think for me, it just kind of like underscored a bigger problem to me, which is that this movie, um, I don't know. It did a good job of finding that tone, I think, but I don't think that tone matches with the Ghostbusters 1 movie to me.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know.
the only comedic effect person was Paul Rudd, and I feel like he did make me laugh several times, but maybe I just am a Paul Rudd stan,
I do
and
love Paul Rudd.
I
Yes.
do love Paul Rudd, and he was. There's a lot of like there's some funny moments, but this movie is more of a serious tone with like an action movie franchise feeling rather than like this kind of screwball-y comedy with ghosts and stuff like that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I get what you mean. And like just adding kids into like, oh, we're gonna have kids be the protagonists and they know how to do everything and like they're like super smart and like you know what I mean? Like they just instantly know how to use everything.
Yeah.
And then in this scene, what else do we see after they're testing out the proton pack here,
Well,
Chris?
after they're testing on the proton pack, they're right next door is this big warehouse, and they hear something going on in there. So they follow the strange sounds inside, and it's our first like stage 5 apparition, right? When you can see it all the way. Isn't that
Yeah.
what you call that? Yep.
I think so, yeah.
And it's I actually loved how Muncher looked. I thought they got the look of like the 80s ghost perfect.
Yeah.
And he's up. There's a giant ghost that is up, like eating the reinforced metal up high up in this warehouse.
And when we say giant, like he's like a big. He's supposed to be like a fat boy ghost, right? He's like eating everything.
Mm-hmm.
They called him Muncher later on. He's a big blobby ghost for sure.
Oh yeah, a beefy boy.
He's like Slimer times 2, at least. Yeah, but
Maybe
his
Slimer
like
and Slimy like joined forces.
this is their son.
Mm-hmm. This is it.
Speaking of sons and children, I had a thought.
Great transition, Tanner.
Speaking of children, well, Carrie Coon's character is the daughter of Egon Spengler, but we don't know who the mom is. Could it have been that slime that he fucked in the second movie? Is she the daughter of Egon and
Slime from movie 2? I mean, that's the best hypothesis I've heard. I don't have a better one, so I'm going to say yes, that's true.
I'm hoping they reveal that in the next movie.
Yes,
that's what I'm looking forward to the most. Okay. So the other thing about this Muncher guy, this might have been my least favorite part of the movie. Well, just like
hit me with it. Yeah.
Idea. Just the fact that he eats metal. This guy Muncher like eats metal things. He's like eating pipes and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And I guess that's fine. Well, I don't know why he has to eat metal or why that's his thing. But then he like spits it out like machine gun bullets. That's the part I think is really dumb. Like he kind of turns into this like Gatling gun of shrapnel. Just like slime, his slime puke, like Slimer slimes things. He pukes metal shards.
Yes. Very dangerous.
Extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
I thought he was supposed to be cute. Anyway, so
this ain't your daddy's Ghostbusters, Tanner.
This is the first PG-13 one, yeah. No,
okay, was part of you kind of hoping that one of those pieces of shrapnel was going to find podcast?
Oh my god, I wanted him out of the picture. I'm just jealous of podcast.
I know you are.
But I do walk around
and
town.
He got to the name first. You can't be podcast now because he already took the name.
Can you imagine how much editing this kid must have to do? He's recording everything that's always happening. I mean, I can't even edit this thing.
I know. No, I cannot imagine that.
So yeah, they try to bust this Muncher ghost in this scene, but they fail. I can't remember what happens. How did they fail?
They were too slow with the trap. When Podcast threw out the trap to catch the ghost, it fell on its side, and when he went to fix it, Muncher had managed to escape. He actually bit his way through the proton beam because that he's Muncher,
Right. He's
right?
Muncher.
Yeah, he munched his way out of that situation.
It's funny that they have this Muncher character, but Slimer's whole thing was eating too. Like, they already have a ghost that just eats things like crazy. I mean, I guess this one eats metal, and that's the upgrade.
Yeah, that is the upgrade, and spits it out as you so eloquently pointed out. Maybe there just aren't good snacks in the afterlife, and these ghosts have to keep coming back to get their grub on.
I got a lot of questions, much like we talked about the dragon ghost in the last one. You know how like what this ghost is a ghost that eats metal. There's Slimer who eats hot dogs and Cheetos or whatever, just junk food. And then, okay, just like how do these ghosts? What are the themes of these ghosts? Like, how do they become a certain type of ghost? You know what I mean? Like, oh, this one's a metal ghost. He just appears out of nothing. You know. Again, I get the spirits of dead people coming back to life, but all these other ghosts are just, I don't know. Also,
yeah.
Okay, we'll get there when we get there. But, anyway, so
I have the same question, and I think we brought this up during the Lady Ghostbusters movie because there was a super tall one and there was a dragon one, and I think we used Slimer as like Slimer isn't a thing. Like that's not a ghost of a dead person.
Right.
Unless maybe the ghosts are supposed to be like your essence or something. I don't understand it. And I have to just let it go. It's
like one of the 7 deadly sins. He's the glutton version of it. He's like the gluttonous version of ourselves, right?
Yes, but what is Muncher then?
He's also the gluttonous version, but eats metal instead.
But with a fucking machine gun? Yeah. The eighth deadly sin, gluttony plus machine gun.
Well, I got more to say about what kinds of things are being risen and what aren't. But
I want to hear it.
Well, we'll get there when we get there. Here, it's coming up.
Okay.
So I think next we get what is Finn Wolfhard's name?
Just call him Finn Wolfhard. Trevor is the character name.
All right, yeah, he fixes the Ecto-1. Somehow he knows about fixing cars.
Also, he gets some help from Egon.
He does get help from Egon, but he was acting like he knew what he was doing under that hood before Egon helps.
Yeah.
And it's not starting, and then you see like kind of just something happen, like he like splices some wires together, or the ghost does, and then the car starts immediately. And he starts just ripping dick through the planes.
He sure does.
He just goes on the craziest joyride maybe I've ever seen. He's jumping off things. He's just speeding through like fields in this car. Like that can't be good for the car.
Apparently,
that's the first thing you do.
Apparently, that visual was the first thing Jason Reitman came up with when he was coming up with what his Ghostbusters movie would be.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I like that they changed the setting overall. Like, I think it's kind of fun to make it in a smaller town. Just having it always in New York, that's kind of boring to me.
Fair.
But, yeah, every time they show this car moving in this movie, it's like drifting and going around corners really fast. And it seems like, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
I actually kind of liked that they used the car more, because I think we complained about that in the last movie, because I think we noticed that was like they barely used it in 1 and 2, and they actually gave the Ecto-1 something to do in the last movie. Yeah, and this one actually had gadgets and shit. I liked what they did with the Ecto-1 in this.
Yes, the car was maybe the MVP of this movie. They really I mean, they had all the features. It was badass. I don't know. They really utilized what the car can do.
So let's get there real quick. Because so he's what did you say? Ripping dick through the field?
Ripping dick.
Hell yeah. He flies out, picks up Podcast and Phoebe, who are walking on the road. Meanwhile, Mom is having dinner with Gruberson. Gruberson still loves science. But now we're back to the Ecto.
And she's got an allergy to science, she says.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she's allergic to Paul Rudd.
Maybe mumps?
Also, I didn't feel like he had any right to like this lady. She's kind of cold and bad. Like she's not. She's like off-putting throughout this movie until the end, maybe. And I really like the actress in TV shows and stuff, but something about the way they wrote her, she's just like they kind of make her not that likable, but he just continues like fawning over her. And maybe
are you just jealous that Paul Rudd isn't fawning over you?
He chose her and not me.
No.
I mean, maybe that's it. I'm just jealous of her.
Yeah.
Bagging Paul Rudd. He's so hard to bag.
Yeah.
No, but he's like super likable, and she's kind of not. But then I was thinking, there's not probably a whole lot of women in this small town, and he's happy to find like some new attractive lady who moved in.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Anyway.
If you were a summer school teacher in the middle of Oklahoma, I would be stoked if a lady that looked like that moved into town.
Absolutely, yeah. Good call. That's that's what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're in the car, right? What happens?
Yeah. So now we're driving through town. They podcast, and Phoebe kind of let Trevor know that there's a ghost that they're chasing. And so they have him drive them into downtown to look for clues. And Muncher has taken a bunch of giant bites out of lots of things, as a munching ghost would do, I guess. Bunch of fan service here. The giant... what did I write here? I can't even read my own handwriting. But I did. This is the part with the Ecto-1 having some sweet stuff. It's got a gunner seat in this movie. So Phoebe sits in the gunner seat and is able to like pop outside. And then they also have ghost traps in RC cars, which I thought was an awesome idea.
It's a very cool idea, yeah.
It like makes this like Home Alone almost. I kind of wanted these kids to like Home Alone their house a little more. I know they made it into a trap, but like,
well, it was already made into
movie
a trap.
idea. Home Alone plus Ghostbusters. Like buckets of paint and electrocuting and the whole bit.
Turn off this pod and let's get writing, Chris, because that is genius.
Call Dan Aykroyd. I'm sure he's looking for something.
Home Alone Bustin'? No, that can't be the name.
Bustin' Alone.
But yeah, Bustin' Alone. It's very sad.
Yep.
Yeah, so they got this RC car hooked up to the thing. Did the kid do that, or was that something Egon had already made?
The way I saw it, there was a compartment in the Ecto-1 for it, so I think Egon made it.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because it like came out the bottom like a little latch so that the car could go out the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the gunner seat, like you said, whips out the seat, like whips out of the side of the door, and she's able to like shoot the proton pack. Out the side while they're cruising, and they're chasing Muncher through the streets. They're destroying the town. Muncher flies through the restaurant between their date, even at one point.
Yes,
the parents' date. And they're destroying shit and just
crash this town.
Yeah,
yeah. The
in classic Ghostbusters fashion.
Exactly right. Just like totally decimating windows. Like buildings are getting ripped apart. Signage is falling off. Yeah.
Yeah. In the game that I played, there was like a meter for how much damage you were doing in every level you're doing. Like you're breaking everything. And I think you're getting like subtracted payment based on how much damage you're doing.
I like that.
Yeah. So they're chasing it down, and they get the RC car. Okay, this is another problem I had. There's some like logic issues in this. But the RC car is like in front of this car all the way. They're out now. They're in the boonies again. They're out of the main part of the town. They're like going towards the mine, chasing Muncher towards the mine, basically. And the RC car is like faster than this car at full speed. Which I don't know if you've ever driven an RC car, but these things are not that fast.
Don't go 70 miles an hour. They certainly don't go that fast. Yeah,
and it would hit a rock and like tumble over upside down and then be useless. Or something, the fact that this RC car was able to keep up, it just kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. Even though it's it's a great idea, and it was cool to watch, but it also was like, I know you have to suspend disbelief. But
you don't think Egon Spengler, the guy who invented all this shit, you don't think he can just invent race car that goes fast?
Well, when you put it like that, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
he did invent
Science.
things that can catch ghosts. So
Science. You just got scienced, Tanner.
oh fuck.
Yeah.
I'm usually getting mathed, but now I'm getting scienced. Yeah. So they catch Muncher at the end, right before they crash into a bridge. And the next scene, they show up in jail. They've been arrested.
As they should have been for destroying the entirety of their small town.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trevor overheard something about Gozer. So kind of like the jail scene in Ghostbusters 1, they kind of use this time to, connect the things that they know. Trevor heard something about Gozer. And so podcast kind of shares some more stuff about Gozer. And then Lucky pops up. Turns out her dad is the sheriff in town.
Yeah, and she's just hanging out. She's hanging out in the jail cell next to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like her dad is the cop, but she just hangs out in jail cells.
I mean,
like,
if you were like a pretty 17-year-old, wouldn't that be what you would go do for fun? Hang out at the fucking prison?
Yeah, picking up dudes. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I just could. Why was she there? Why was she in that jail cell right there?
Great question. They decided to make her dad the sheriff just for this one scene, and I don't know why they needed to do it. Yeah,
yeah, and so that she could get access to like getting the car back later when they break it out, and like because like the cops,
okay, yeah,
they keep all their equipment. Also, her dad is the Bokeem guy. He's in Riddick, but he's in a bunch of stuff. And he has like nothing to do. He has like literally 2 lines in the entire movie, I think.
And those 2 lines are crazy fan service.
Oh yeah, he says, "Who you gonna call?
Who you gonna call?" Yep. Hey, don't we get a phone call? Sure.
Yeah.
Who you gonna call? Yep.
And Chris, who do they gonna call?
Who do they gonna call? Not their mom or Gary Gruberson, but instead they call the phone number from the old Ghostbusters commercial that Phoebe's been watching. And it goes to Ray's Occult, Dan Aykroyd's shop. And Ray himself answers.
Yeah.
And we get a little scene here with Phoebe talking to Ray. Ray is still pissed off at Egon. And here's where we get a little bit of the backstory about why he's in Oklahoma. Or how he came to be in Oklahoma. Apparently he stole a bunch of stuff from the Ghostbusters. And without really saying anything, kind of moved to the middle of the country. And so Ray is still pretty bitter towards Egon, and sounds like there was like a big falling out as a result of that move.
Yeah, he says Egon Spengler can rot in hell, even.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then she immediately says that, he died recently, and he kind of changes his tone, and doesn't really, I don't know, doesn't really want much to want anything to do with what's going on here, but. Right when the phone call's getting interesting for him, the cop hangs up the phone, which you can't do that, right?
Yeah, you get 1 phone call. Is there a time limit on it?
Yeah, what do you only get, like 90 seconds and then it's over? That's it.
Yeah.
And plus, these are like 10-year-old kids, so let them make a phone call.
Also true, yeah. You'd think you would treat them a little differently if they were 10-year-old children, but
yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
So the mom, I can't remember. What is her name even in this movie?
Egon's daughter.
Egon's daughter shows up with Gary Gruberson, Paul Rudd, to pick them up from jail and bail them out, I guess. She signed something. I don't know if they have to pay anything. I feel like they must be on the hook for thousands of dollars in damage, right?
Yeah.
But they don't. They kind of just wave it over. She's mad that she had to get him out of prison. And the girl even like points she's like, I want to keep all this stuff. She points the proton pack at the cop, which is just, that's kind of this girl's kind of a freak.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you shouldn't point things at cops. Probably a bad idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the daughter tries to like say, hey, we caught a ghost, and they talk, they have a little moment, and the mom is still just like, I still think he's a crazy old man, and if not, then he's just an asshole. And she tries to tell him that he was a Ghostbuster and all this stuff. And yeah, I don't know if there's more to it. Like, did she really not know anything about this guy?
Her own father.
Or is she just trying to like?
It's really strange, yeah, because in this movie, I mean, the mom is what, like 45, 50, probably 45,
Yeah,
40.
I
I don't
feel
know,
like he
40,
must have
45.
been there for the first 6 years of her life or something, then left, right? Something like that.
Or she would have like figured out at some point like something about him, right?
Yeah,
Like this dude was on
something
TV all
from
the
the
time, and
mom.
yeah,
Yeah, and I couldn't tell if she was just like trying to hide it or just like pretend that she,
yeah.
doesn't know anything about it, or she's so resentful of it that she just never bothered to look into it. You know. Um. Anyway, it's not very well written, but where do we go from here, Chris?
Uh, well, then we get Gary Gruberson goes to the grocery store, and he. Do we know why he went to the grocery store?
He was hungry.
Okay, it's a good
He,
answer.
he needed food.
Yeah,
Chris,
and
why? Can I ask why you go to the grocery store?
because I like to go there to BM, so it doesn't smell up my apartment.
And it's like across town. You go
Yeah.
all the way across
It's worth the
town.
drive, though. You just
Definitely. Yeah.
gotta keep it squeezed in for the whole drive over there.
Yeah, you couldn't go to like a local coffee shop or anything. You
No,
gotta go
no.
to the Safeway.
Across town. Yeah.
Get as far away from my apartment as possible.
Well, I don't want to drift back in after me. You know.
It does chase you like a ghost spirit.
Exactly right.
So okay, yeah. So he's at the grocery store, just walking around, and then he sees something, Chris, and this is what I wanted to talk about. So we get these little packs.
You want to talk about this? Yes.
We get this little Stay Puft marshmallows. We got packs of Stay Puft marshmallows. Everybody knows what they are. Guess what? They start coming alive, and there are tons and tons of little tiny animated Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. This time they're not huge, but they're just a little bit bigger than a marshmallow, and they're all cutesy and like this was definitely an attempt to Baby Yoda this shit.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did
you see at the end of the very end of the movie, after all of the post-credit sequences, there was a no ghost logo is what they call it, like the little circle X with the ghost, but they replaced the ghost with one of the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Mans.
Oh, I saw it. It was like a half second, just like they just showed it real quick.
Yeah. I love that phrase you just used. They tried to Baby Yoda the shit out of it. That's exactly what this is.
Yeah, and I noticed that these guys are being used to advertise the new movie, so I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. But
wow.
So yeah,
these guys, Marshmallow Man is in almost all of the movies at this point,
and you fight him in the video game too, which is yeah. Wait, is he in the second? He's not in the second one, is he?
He's not in the second one. That's true, but
he is in the reboot.
Else, he's in both the reboots.
Both the reboots? Oh, this one. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, this one and the 2016.
Okay, yeah. So whatever. They all come to life. They're these little cutesy. They're kind of like doing little hijinks, and it's supposed to be funny. And like, I kind of laughed a couple times when they were like roasting themselves and making s'mores out of themselves.
Yeah, it was parts of that were pretty funny. Yeah.
But again, this is my whole problem with it is why the marshmallows? Why are they the only things coming back to life are these little marshmallow men? And they show up later on in the car, and they're just like, there's a whole bunch of them. Where are they coming from? Do they have a bag of marshmallows in their car?
I don't know.
They never establish like, hey, I have these marshmallows in my backpack, and then later on they come to life. Oh, okay, but why the marshmallows, Chris? Why not anything else? Why not the Lucky Charms? Why not I don't even know, the cheese? Why isn't the cheese coming to life?
IP,
why isn't
baby.
there ghost cheese? I know. That's exactly the point. Yeah. They just literally, this is the worst part of the movie. I know I already said that once, but these little guys are the worst part because it's just like such an obvious, like trying to sell a toy or get like a cutesy little kitty part of it for people to think is really cute and glom onto. I don't even know. Get kids involved in it, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I also had a problem with this because like when you turn why did the marshmallows become human shaped?
I mean, they're
Like,
okay. Well, they are a character. The thing is, they established in the first movie that it's like a character in a commercial, like this little guy, like the Pillsbury
yeah.
Doughboy.
But when you
Yeah,
buy a bag of marshmallows, they're not shaped like that. They don't have legs or eyes or a little hat. So like
yeah. Where's the
like
hat coming from?
where is that shit coming from? Like why are they
Well,
shaped like this?
yeah, that I just chalked up to just like it transforms into this shape and ghostly, whatever spiritual form. It just tends to show up as that form. But
Okay.
it makes us okay. Point one, just like why only marshmallows? Why not green beans? Why not any
Yes.
other item or thing that comes to life? Why aren't we having giant cheese slime monsters, right? Made out of cheddar cheese. Now that's what I want to see. And
Yeah.
instead they only did the Marshmallow Man because in the first movie it makes sense. Like it's totally ridiculous and crazy, but it makes sense because it's like the first thing Ray just thought of was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He just like, whoops, I thought of this one thing, and that's what they brought to life. But
Yes.
there's no reason for these marshmallows to come to life.
Correct. Yeah,
None.
no, just out of the blue. They're just there. And you're totally right. That scene is it's kind of a funny little scene with them dying and like cooking themselves and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you step back half a second, it's like what narrative, what part of the story brought this to be? Why are these things here? And it's really, like you said, it's toys and just another little like, hey, member Ghostbusters 1984? Hey, member?
Yeah.
It's just
Remember
another
this?
one of those. Yeah.
They are member berries for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Um God, yeah. Just and also they're driving a Roomba at one point. You can't drive a Roomba. It goes on its own. The Roomba controls itself. You
Mhm.
don't have Marshmallow Men
Don't
controlling it.
don't cross Tanner about a Roomba. He will put his
Ugh.
foot down. Yeah.
Why don't we have cheese monsters? All right, what happens next?
Tanner sounds so upset right now. Yeah.
The logic of just only those food items coming to life. If everything was coming to life in that store, I would have been okay with it. It's just another. This is a brand in this world, the Stay Puft Marshmallows. Sure, they came to life. Had nothing to do with the first one, but this is pure just fan service crap.
Yes. And
Anyway,
and Baby Yoda, like you said, like making a
yeah,
cute little thing. Yep.
maybe Unify. Yep.
Yeah, and then the end to this scene, Paul Rudd also sees the giant demon dog, and it chases him out into his car. And unfortunately, he doesn't have a windshield on his car, and so it looks like the dog's going to get him.
Yeah. What did it establish why he doesn't have a windshield?
Mm,
Because he just dives through his windshield and like the dog is right there and
oh,
like,
it happened. It happened when they let the ghost out with the
okay.
school bus at the earlier. Then when the demon went by, it blew out a bunch of windows, including the windshield on his car.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So we get a little bit more backstory. The selenium, there's the metal I was looking for earlier. Girders that were used in Ghostbusters 1 were mined here in Oklahoma City. And so they head back out to the mines. They take the mine cart down.
Just the kids. Yeah.
Just the kids. Yes, just the kids now. So we've got Phoebe, Trevor, and
Lucky.
Podcast, and Lucky. Lucky finds out that Finn is not 17, like he said. Sorry, Trevor. He's just Finn to me.
Finn Wolfhard,
he's
yeah.
not actually 17. He's only 15. He was lying to her. And while they're down there, they kind of start to connect that a bunch of the numbers on the walls can connect to historic haunting events, including the 1984 event, and then a few like from back in the day that Podcast knew the dates of because that's what he talks about on his podcast.
Yeah. So
How'd I do? This seems a little complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just like some lore, a bunch of dates on the wall, and like those are the dates that they're gonna come back every time, or Gozer's gonna come back, I guess.
Also, is it just Gozer? Is that all that one was?
Pretty much. I think it was just Gozer. Right?
Okay. I was wondering why they didn't use Ghostbusters 2 as a date. Because like they didn't use 2016, but they're like clearly trying to sweep 2016 under the rug.
Sure, that was just a one-off. Not yeah. That has nothing to do with these movies at all.
That's fine, but they
yeah.
also ignored Ghostbusters 2, which I feel like, because they didn't even talk about that at all.
Yeah, they said it's been 30 years since a ghost sighting, which would have been when Ghostbusters 2 came out, right?
Okay.
Because it would have been 35 years or whatever from Ghostbusters 1, something like that. Or 36 years. I don't know. I did notice that too, that that date was not on the thing, but it wasn't Gozer either. These are the dates that Gozer is set to come back every time. So there's other old gods like Vigo, right? Was the one in Ghostbusters 2. I think that's what it is. It's like these are just Gozer specific
Okay.
occurrences. Yeah.
Got you. I think it was just here that I noticed, because like throughout the movie they're doing all this fan service, but it's always to one. Like they don't ever talk about Vigo. They don't talk about the slime. You would think that the walking Statue of Liberty would have made one of those news clips that Phoebe is watching, right?
Oh yeah, remember when the Statue of Liberty came to life and walked through New York City? You remember that?
Remember? Yeah.
Remember?
You would think that would have made it into one of the things, but
you would have thought like little at the grocery store, like little tiny Statue of Liberty toys that they sell at every grocery store would have like come to life and started walking around, right?
Oh Jesus, yeah. Exactly.
That's a great call though, Chris. Maybe they're trying to ignore that one too, because I know a lot of people or like the actors didn't love it, so maybe they're
I think they're kind of like focusing in on the one that everybody still agrees is an awesome movie, which is the first one. Yeah.
Again, like the dates I think are Gozer specific, so they're not ignoring it, but this is just Gozer stuff. Although I do think they should have had that painting of the Ghostbusters at the end of Ghostbusters 2 somewhere in Egon's house.
That would have been awesome. That would have been
such
a nice little hat tip. And I hated that bit at the end of Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
Like if they'd brought it back, I think I would have liked it a little more.
It would have been funny if they had that picture and just been like, "Oh God, what a terrible picture! Who made this?" Something.
Take that awful piece of trash off the wall or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So down in this mine, we have the four kids are kind of looking around. There's a dead body of Ivo Shandor down there in like a glass coffin. And it's played by J.K. Simmons, who is in it for about a minute.
He must have been on set for 25 minutes.
Yeah, and I felt like they must have like had him do a lot more. Like maybe they cut out a bunch of the movie to trim it down. But,
okay.
It just seems like a big actor to have in there for like 10 seconds. But they find out that the earthquakes are coming from this mine. So there's like a death pit that they call it. And like these just like rumblings of like demons and ghosts are like trying to come out of the death pit. And when they do get to the top, all these proton packs that have been set up as like a trap just connect and hit them all and like send it back down. So Egon he set this whole thing up as like a way to keep the demonic forces buried down below. Every time they try to get out, the proton packs like shove it back down, right?
Yes.
And this is what's causing the quake. A mixture of the demons escaping and the proton packs like power kind of just like shoving them back down to hell or whatever you want to call it. So that's what you get there.
Yeah. And Phoebe is feeling validated because Grandpa Egon was right. And even though he has this reputation as a crazy dirt farmer, he was protecting people, and he's actually a hero. So
he sacrificed everything: his life, his daughter, us, all that stuff. Yeah, his friends, just to keep the world safe.
What an angel!
He's a true angel,
literally.
True angel. And so you get a little shot of the mom. She is...
Oh, yeah.
We got to find out her name eventually. But she's back at the house. She finds the PKE meter, and it kind of goes off, and she picks it up, and she's interested, so she follows where it goes, and she goes down to the... slides down the fire pole down in this garage where it kind of leads her, and she sees the lights are directing her again. It's Ghost Egon directing her to see things. There's a picture of her on his desk, and then it shines on like this shrine of photos of her growing up, basically.
Yes.
So this leads me to another question: Is the mom keeping him informed this entire time? Like, or you know what I mean? Because
The
is the mom sending him photos of her, and she's not like upset that he's not around? Like, how
Yeah,
is
I
he
mean,
keeping tabs on her?
to make that creepy wall of shit.
Yeah, this is his way of telling her, like, "Hey, I do love you. I was watching over you, sort of, or I was like,
Following
I,
your life. Yeah.
I do care about you. I just couldn't be there because of all this big ghost shit that I'm trying to do." But who's sending him these? Where's he getting these photos?
Great question.
I'm wondering if the mom is sending him the photos, and I'm also wondering, based on a few little moments in this, is Janine the mom?
Ooh.
Because we'll get into
Tanner.
it, I guess, in the post-credit scene. But I feel like Janine has got to be the mom, right?
That
I
would
mean,
make
it's the
good
only thing.
sense.
It
Yeah.
only thing that makes sense, except for that she doesn't ever mention her mom or what her mom was. She adopted this whole time. I don't even know. Is her last name even Spengler in this movie? This
Janine
is why.
or
No,
Callie. I just
is
looked
it
it up. Her
Callie?
character's name's Callie. Yeah.
Callie Spengler?
It's just Callie on Google.
Uh, well, I don't know then. Yeah, I'm wondering now if she was like supposed to be. No, I guess it is Phoebe Spengler, so it is supposed to be Spengler.
Okay.
I'm just wondering how she never knew anything about him at all. Like her mom was either reluctant to tell her anything about him, but then secretly sending Egon pictures of her throughout her life. Right?
Yeah.
Help me out here. What do you see? What I'm getting
No,
at?
no, no. I do see the problem here. Yeah, like how was she so uninformed, but he was able to stay so informed? My guess is
Yeah.
Facebook. He just printed all that shit off Facebook. He's got a color printer somewhere. Goes into her photo albums. Prints some stuff off. That's my guess.
Finds all of her childhood photos from the 80s
Exactly.
on Facebook. Yeah, so that happens. She finds out that he's got the shrine for her, and immediately the demon dog shows up and possesses her like Sigourney Weaver in the first movie.
There is no mom. There is only Zool.
Yeah, she kind of echoes the line from the first movie. And in this one, so the kids come back and she's all possessed, obviously possessed. And this one, she's got more like dog-like qualities than in the other one, where she's like kind of like growling and moving around like a dog, which I feel like didn't happen. Also, do you feel like Gooberson was like the Rick Moranis replacement?
Yeah, definitely.
There we go.
Yeah. Very different take on the character, right? This guy's kind of like lovable schlubby guy, and Rick Moranis was like he played it so nerdy. Like for sure different character, but they kind of filled the same spot here.
Yeah. All right. So we got possessed mom, possessed Gooberson. What happens?
Well, possessed Gruberson heads down to the mine and messes with those proton packs that are protecting the world. And that's enough for a bunch of ghosts to escape from that pit of souls that you talked about earlier. And Gozer uses this opportunity to break free.
Yeah, so the mom jumps out the window and like runs all the way to the mine and meets up with them, or with she's now the gatekeeper and he's the key master, just like in the first one. And they meet up and open the gates for Gozer to return. And the kids are back at the farm, and she like sees the word dirt written on the wall, and she figures out that dirt is code for something, I guess. Check the dirt, he's trying to say. So she like moves her hand on a little bit of dirt on the ground, and guess what? There's proton packs and shit under there.
Oh, dang.
So they piece it all together really quickly that this whole farm was like a trap, basically.
Yes. It's not a farm, it's a trap.
and they have like these electrical towers and like a whole grid of ghost traps underneath the dirt, which I thought was also kind of a cool idea, to make this whole property like a ghost trap.
Yes.
What I didn't think was a good idea was how when they went downstairs to like start gathering all the equipment and getting ready for the final fight, they put on all those old suits and they fit somehow.
Perfectly. Yeah,
right?
They fit perfectly. The one that Dan Aykroyd wore all fits a small child now.
Exactly.
Yes.
Harold Ramis is like 6'3". That
I
guy is
know.
fucking tall. There's no way.
And Phoebe
Also,
is not tall. Yes.
yeah, they're like children, and they all fit into their old uniforms. Except for I noticed podcasts. I didn't notice the other ones, but he had written his name on the suit already. Like he
just wrote podcast on it.
He had time to write podcasts in where the name should be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, he's got to get that content for his show, you know?
That's true.
Get that on there, then you can talk about it. Yes, the kids gear up. We got a bunch of little children Ghostbusters now, and they head downtown. The police station is empty, so they go into impound and get their proton pack back.
Why is it empty? Is it because there's like ghosts running amok?
I guess, yeah, they're like out being ghosts. Yeah, the cops are probably out like trying to chase all these ghosts and stuff.
Just running after them.
Yeah, but how did they get the proton pack out of the evidence room in the deep within the jail? Because it's behind metal bars, Tanner. How are you going to get through those?
Well, luckily, the proton pack, you can just barely reach the controller for it. Or I guess it's the ghost trap.
The trap, yeah.
And he lets Muncher out of the trap, and Muncher eats his way out of the jail cell so they can get all their shit. And
you got munched.
That's our tagline, actually. You got munched.
That's right.
But yeah, so they also get the car back. The girl, the daughter of the cop, helps them get all the shit back, and Muncher helps as well. And now they're off to finish the job. Yeah?
Yep. We get a little bit of background on Ivo Shandor, J.K. Simmons' character. Like you mentioned before, he built he built that building in New York City and the temple here. And he like presents. He's like, "Gozer, I brought you back. We can take over the world together." And she immediately rips him in half.
Yeah, that's pretty.
So that's the end of Ivo Shandor.
I kind of maybe that was the point to like they bring in this big actor and like try to make him. They're gonna make him the Thing, like a big villain, and then she just rips him in half.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Drew Barrymore died at the beginning of Scream.
Exactly. Yeah, good call.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we get Gozer. She's in full human lady form here. She looks a lot like the original one.
Big time.
But definitely different. You can tell it's slightly different, but the actress doesn't really matter because she's all in makeup and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they make their way to the mine. And how do they do this, Chris? How do they distract him?
Oh my gosh!
Your favorite part of the movie?
Yeah, this movie had like a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows for me, and I did not enjoy this scene. But basically, they've got that RC car that's also a ghost trap that we saw earlier in the movie, and they're going to try and sneak that out underneath the dogs and underneath Gozer. But they need a distraction, so they send Phoebe out to deliver just a bunch of dad jokes, one after the next, with a very stiff, uncomfortable delivery, which is the point, but it's a really stupid scene.
Yeah, distracting them with bad jokes. I guess it's supposed to be funny. Just kind of falls flat. But while she's doing that, these guys Gozer could just eviscerate her in like 1 second. But she's not afraid. She's not afraid of no ghost. And while she's distracting him, they send the little RC car out quietly underneath one of the demon dogs that is her mom, and they capture it, and the mom is set free. Gruberson, whoever, is still a dog, but they take the gatekeeper and the mom, and they hop in the car and they get out of town. They go back to the farmhouse, and I guess the point was to capture one of them so that it would close the gate, because at this point Gozer turns back into like she's only like half there. She's like half ghost because there's only one of the two needed components.
She needs her two little helpers.
Yeah. So they like follow them. That was the plan, was to get one and have them all follow them to the farmhouse. And all of a sudden the mom is like totally into everything. She believes everything now and is like, there's a little chase scene through the town, I think. And then what happens here at the end? They get to the farmhouse.
They get to the farmhouse. You said before, but yeah, the farmhouse as a trap is a great, fun idea. But on the way, the marshmallow men are there again, just kind of fucking shit up for podcasts.
Yeah, they make it so they can't fire the gun at one point.
Yep. Gozer manages to free the other of the two dogs. And the dog this time attacks Lucky. So Trevor's love interest is now the gatekeeper or the keymaster. I'm not sure which. Meanwhile, Gozer is about to get mom and the kids. She's like right there. She's got some little like.
Yeah, they tried the traps and they don't work, right?
Yes. And Gozer's about to get mom and the kids. And what happens, Tanner?
The Busters show up.
Bustin'! Yay!
The old crew shows up at the last second in
what do we need right now? A bunch of 60-year-old dudes.
You hear, hey, flat top. And we get Murray, Aykroyd, and
Ernie Hudson. Yeah.
Ernie Hudson in there. And they show up just in time to bust some ghosts. They got the unis, they got their own proton packs, and they start busting.
Oh, yeah, baby.
They cross those streams, but she uncrosses the stream. She's into it, and she knows, she remembers them, and she knows to like uncross the streams, luckily. And Bill Murray has a couple.
These are the moments that make me laugh. Someone in the survey said that they studied real science, and I want to point them to this part of the movie when they're uncrossing the proton streams. Continue.
Yeah.
Great science. Mm-hmm.
Great science. Yeah. They're not making a joke of this kind of stuff at all. They're taking Ghostbusting seriously.
Serious business.
Yeah, so Bill Murray has a couple lines where he's saying, like, we could have been the spectacular power couple, babe. We're finished, babe. I don't know. I thought he was kind of funny when he was talking to the ghost.
I thought so too. Yeah. It was nice to see him.
But, you get a spectacular finish here. Well, I don't know about spectacular, but it's in the movie, it's spectacular. It's like a crazy, everyone joining together and blasting the fuck out of this ghost.
It's kind of like a Harry Potter style, like wand battle where they're like blasting at Gozer and Gozer's blasting back, and the blasts are meeting in the middle. You know, like that thing.
Yeah.
Tell
me what happens here.
Oh, and then the coup de grace of this movie, Egon becomes a class 4 phantasm, and he is like, or class 5. He's there in front of us. The ghost of Harold Ramis. Fully AI
CGI
shows up. CGI, excuse me. Shows up to like put them over the top, right? Because the 3 old Ghostbusters and the kids aren't doing the job themselves, so they need an assist from Egon.
Oh yeah, we got Ghost Egon.
They don't make him talk, which I think was probably the right call.
Yeah, definitely.
It's weird to me that he's there at all. But
it's definitely strange. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like how they a lot of this movie was trying to be like a tribute to him, as like a send off to him, and having this thing where he's an important part of the movie without actually being alive, for any of the filming.
Sure.
So I was okay with it. I think maybe they had a little bit too much of the ghost Egon in there. They could have also just maybe had a little bit of him show up as a spirit and then disappear, but then have him be like, I liked all the invisible stuff where it's like, it's supposed to be him.
Yeah.
But they showed him quite a bit. They were even talking to him and he's like not responding. It's a little weird when they do this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like
but
Paul
they're really
Walker in Fast and the
it's
Furious movies.
yes, it's very much like that. Yeah. It's just fan service. It's supposed to make you all warm and fuzzy inside. Um, and yeah, through this process, they catch Gozer, and then we get some wrap up
Finn
scene.
Wolfhard like shoots the power grid or whatever to get that going right at the last second. So
Yep,
they're all busting all the traps. You see like a huge grid of traps in the field go off, and yeah, sucks Gozer right in. Super
that's
trapped.
right.
My question here is why wouldn't Egon get sucked in?
That's a great question. He's a
Right?
ghost.
He's a ghost.
Yeah. Here's
I mean, there's little logic points like that in this movie that you're supposed to look through. But I don't really care about that. I just think, yeah, why wouldn't he get sucked in?
the other question I have for you, Tanner. The only reason that the gatekeeper was able to escape is because Egon led them to the ghost trap hidden in the floor, right?
Like early in the movie,
Yes.
yeah.
But like if he hadn't done that, then his security system would have continued working in the mine, and this whole movie didn't need to happen, right?
Well, the security system I think is not sustainable,
Okay.
especially if he's dead. Like, there's no way that with all the earthquakes and stuff that'd probably like stay up, right? You know, like eventually, or somebody would take it down who wanders in there. So I think he wanted. They kind of say like they wanted all this to happen. He planned all of this out, where he
Okay.
wanted them to come to the house. Whatever his little like, you know, his band-aid that he had over in the mine, that's not going to last. He wanted them to come to his trap.
Got you.
So he was
Okay.
assisting them and trying to get. Yeah, he did let that ghost loose for that reason, I do believe.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, you're right. In the opening credits scene, that's exactly what he was doing, right? He was trying to lure it to the trap, and
Yeah.
that wasn't successful, and he died. So I think you're right. Yes.
Although he could have just asked his friends for help. You know.
Without doubt. He has 3 friends who famously like busting ghosts.
Yeah, instead he's like trying to do it alone. Of course he's going to fail. Come on.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters is
Come on,
about
man.
team and friendship. So yeah, they get Gozer, and Ghost Egon is still there and alive. There's a couple funny moments where like Ernie's just like he can't believe what he's seeing. The Ghost Egon, just like they're all looking at him. Oh, and he's like helping Phoebe like use the the proton pack and stuff. It's very cheesy. It's kind of sweet, but also like cheesy looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's they save Paul Rudd. He was in the dog statue, just like in the first movie. He comes out, and the girl also gets out of there. Podcast is covered in marshmallow, and then it ends with him hugging his daughter. Not the movie, but this scene ends with him hugging his daughter, and he dissipates. Which I didn't know you could hug ghosts either. Like, wouldn't he go through? Wouldn't she go through him? No.
Yes. No, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Is that the end of the movie?
I think that's the end of the movie. I'm trying to see if I
main
have
part?
anything else.
I mean, there's definitely more here.
We
But
got
that's the
some
end of the
post
main
credits.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, we got some post credits. Yeah, and then as he's disappearing, we get For Harold on the screen, which kind of echoes what you were saying before. This was kind of their send off for Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
Get the Ghostbusters song finally. Been waiting
I know.
all movie for it.
Where's that Ray Parker at? Saved it for the holding out on us.
And now, yeah, it's like kind of like, oh, the Ghostbusters are back. That's kind of what this was. This was almost a prequel to a new venture or something like that. Laying the groundwork for what's to come in the franchise. And then, so the credits start, but then it goes to the first post-credit sequence with Sigourney Weaver and Bill Murray. And we are doing another callback to the first movie where Murray was like testing people's psychokinetic abilities or whatever you want to call it. Trying to guess what card shape is on the other side. And I guess you're just supposed to see like, oh, they're still together. Sigourney Weaver and him are still together. So happy ending for them, right?
I think that's that. Yep.
At least for her, I think that's supposed to be the ending for her. and he has marked all the cards apparently, so he's getting them all correct. I don't know.
So
What did you think of this little scene?
Kind of a throwaway scene. It's just a callback to the old movie.
Yeah,
yeah, it was fine.
And during the credits,
it was kind of nice to see Sigourney Weaver. But again, like I don't know. We'll talk later. There was way too much callbacks in this movie, and I think it took a lot away from the movie. But we'll get to that a little later. I think that's going to be, I guess, a bigger problem than just this one scene.
I guess that's just their way of showing that they're still together. And then during the credits, so I wanted to talk real quick about there's a song that plays called like Haunted House. Not my favorite song, but that song was written by Phoebe in the movie, written and performed by McKenna Grace.
Seriously?
I did some digging on her. She's like a teen musician and like actress, and she looks totally different. I'm looking at her on my screen here.
Whoa, dude!
Like this blonde chick, and like, I don't know. I just was like, this is the same person. That's what. After seeing that, I was kind of like, wow, she really was pretty good in this movie. I thought, she was like a totally different person. Yeah,
good for her. I didn't realize that song was hers. It was like it was a nice pop song.
Right.
It was like very well done. I don't know that I would ever like listen to it on my free time, but good for her. That's
she's
awesome.
Got a team of people helping her write songs too, like most pop artists do. It's not, but it's called Haunted House.
Cool.
I thought that was interesting. Just showcasing the talent of that star right there. And then the post-credit scene, Chris. I wasn't sure if you'd watch it.
Finally, after 4 movies, it's Winston's time to shine.
Tell me about it.
Well, it turns out Winston is a rich businessman, and the only reason that Ray's occult is still in business is that Winston's been paying the bills. What else is happening here? I didn't take a ton of notes on this scene.
It starts off with a scene, I guess it's from Ghostbusters 2. Or maybe it's not even in one of the movies, but with the coin or whatever. Like Janine gives Harold Ramis a coin that's like, or I think it's right before the final battle in Ghostbusters 2, right? Or maybe just Ghostbusters 1.
Ghostbusters 1, right before they go to the top of that high rise, yeah.
And this was the part where I was like, wait, are they trying to show there's a connection? Like, is she the mother of the daughter, of Carrie Coon?
Of Callie, yeah.
Because why were they even bothering showing this little coin moment?
Oh, that's interesting. That would totally make sense. That scene, I was assuming that scene was something that got cut from Ghostbusters 1, and they just like plopped it in here as another little showcase for Harold Ramis to actually get his voice in this movie.
I guess so.
But
I don't.
I really like your conspiracy theory, and I am excited that we get to watch that movie so soon to find out. Because I bet if that's where they're going with it, it's going to happen here.
In the next one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They make a point of this little coin, and then cut to now. She has the coin in her hand, and she's hanging out with Winston and just talking about the old times. And he's rich as fuck. Like you said, he's been paying the rent for Ray's Occult because that place definitely doesn't make any money. This is where I was saying earlier too that maybe he owned that house, and that's why she was the one to hand the keys off to them. So, what else? What happens at the very end here, Chris? He goes to the firehouse.
Yeah, I think he's buying the firehouse back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of setting up like the sequel. Like the sequel is going to be back in New York. The sequel is going to have like the firehouse is kind of the big thing that they were missing here. And then it also seems to hint at a problem with the laser containment grid thing where they were keeping all the ghosts in the original 2 movies.
Yeah, it just shows it like beeping, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of like flashing, but it's like alluding to something is in there, or that there's still ghosts in there. They'll probably get out. Maybe it's Slimer. That's where Slimer was the whole time. He was.
He is in the movie. He's just inside that containment grid that you see at the very end.
Did they ever? Well, yeah, I was gonna say maybe. Oh, the last time you see Slimer is driving the bus. That's right. So yeah, and then like you said, it ends with that just a quick shot of the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man with the logo,
Ugh, yeah,
and that's
sure
the
does.
movie.
And that's it.
Oh boy,
So
we
that's
did it.
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, Chris, did you like it?
Man, no, I don't think I did. I liked parts of it. I thought parts of it were great and really fun, but I think it leaned just way too hard on like Ghostbusters 1 and but it missed the tone for me because like I said it felt it's kids in a setting that's supposed to feel retro in a red state in like a small town. Like it just felt like an episode of Stranger Things, and outside of Paul Rudd and a couple of podcast jokes, I didn't think it was very funny. And I like, like the original Ghostbusters, everybody loved it because it was a mix of horror and comedy. And I don't think that this movie really did either one of those things very well. Because I didn't think it was scary, and I didn't think it was very funny. And it did a good job of building a tone, I think. And so the movie's pretty watchable because of that. But it's just like every turn, it's like, like I just like kept coming back to like why did I like the first Ghostbusters movie? Was it because I got to see Annie Potts and Dan Aykroyd, or was it because there was a bunch of jokes and there were ghosts and scary things? And like I just feel like they keep trying to bring back the parts of the movie that I don't give a shit about. Like I don't care if Janine's in these movies. I don't care if they bring back the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like I want scary ghosts and I want quippy dialogue.
Yep.
And honestly, like, and this might be a hot take, and I don't know, maybe I'll have to walk this back, but I honestly thought the Lady Ghostbusters movie is a better Ghostbusters movie than this one because it's set in New York City, because it has a bunch of funny SNL people, and because like it follows like there's more haunting than there
It
is in
does
this.
it does some new stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, but
not
this
just
one just
callbacks.
it felt like a not funny, not scary episode of Stranger Things to me that goes on for 2 hours. Um,
You keep calling it Stranger Things. Is that just because you kept seeing Finn Wolfhard?
that's part of it, but I thought they said it in the same place and they made the tone the same. It really feels
Yeah.
like Stranger Things to me. It's like it's kids in the country with supernatural things going on, and it's paced like a slow burner instead of like a fast paced comedy. And so it really feels like that. And honestly, casting Finn Wolfhard in this doesn't help. Like he's for sure like one
Yeah.
of the big faces of that show. And I think it totally could have defined that. If the movie was better, I don't know. It was fine. It's not a bad movie for sure, but I just like,
Yeah.
like to
You
get
couldn't
the
get
whole
past
cast
that.
back together, to get Ivan Reitman's son to write it and direct it. Like I was just expecting more. I was expecting it to be better. And it wasn't for me. I don't know. Maybe it was different for you. Did you love this thing?
Did I love it? Oh, I mean, I don't know if I loved it, but I did like it. I think overall, I agree it has all those problems,
Yeah.
100%. But I liked the way they continued overall. Like the overall story points, I think are good. Way too much fan service.
Yeah.
And the Stay Puft shit, and yeah, again, you're right. The things that I don't care about, like I think I mentioned last week how like these little moments in movies when they try to like continue franchises later on, they're like, oh, we got to have a callback to all these little things that people thought
Yeah.
were important 30 years now, because every little part of that movie has been picked apart over and over and over again. So it's like, oh, let's just keep making callbacks to these things that people like, instead of coming up with any new original ideas for villains and stuff. Like they could have done a similar structure with like what happened with Egon and the band breaking up, and the descendants of them rediscovering even in the same setting. That's all well and good.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to be Gozer and like a rehash of the exact same villain. Come up with a new
Exactly.
ghost villain.
And I
Don't
think your point about the supermarket is super great too, because like they had a whole supermarket where they could have made anything haunted, and they just went back to only the little marshmallows. I think that's
only.
that's a perfect illustration of exactly what you're saying right now. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did find it very watchable and fun. Like I was warmed by the movie, just like feeling like it was like doing right with the IP, or with the just like the continuation of it in a way. Um,
Yeah.
it made me curious to see where they take all this stuff, because if they can like come up with some new stuff in the next one, featuring the new cast and the old cast and all that, and kind of have this legacy sequel thing going.
Yeah.
Because I liked everybody well enough. Especially, I thought the girl was great. I really did think Phoebe was a good character, and it's really her movie.
Yeah.
But if they can bring all that together and come up with some new ideas and not just like rehash things from the past, I think we could have a good future for it.
And maybe I honestly, and if this movie is the bridge between the old movie and that movie that you just described, like,
Yeah.
then the problems I described, I don't think are significant. You know what I mean? Like, because that is a really hard
No, they are.
thing
Yeah,
to
you're right.
traverse. Yeah, but like, like if you're setting up that next sequel, that's a lot of stuff to be balancing. And I certainly would, like if the next one rips, then hell yeah, like this one needed to be the way it was. But I don't know.
Yeah, and
we'll find out this weekend.
I know it's probably a difficult thing. That's like, you try to be, you don't want to steer too far away from the original thing, but then like, I don't know. You want to have your own path as well. It wasn't 100% successful, but I enjoyed the watch. And I was kind of, maybe it's because I wrote it off so much when it came out. I was just like, I had no interest in seeing it. And then once I started watching it, I was like, oh, I'm really excited for this. And like, this is new continuation Ghostbuster stuff, which I guess I never realized how much of a continuation it really was until we got closer to watching it. And I was like, oh, this is like I didn't even know it was like the descendants of Egon or anything. Until like a few weeks ago. So
I
don't know.
I still don't care about that. Like, I would be fine with like a different crew. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I think I just keep coming back to like, James Bond, they just get different people in there, and we don't see Sean Connery in every Daniel Craig movie as like a little wink and a nod.
Yeah.
Like, why do I need that here? Like, these are the Ghostbusters. These are like ghost fighters. Just go fight ghosts. Like, I don't need all these callbacks to this old movie. Like, just make Skyfall. Make me a cool movie that I want to watch now, instead of just like winking at me about a bunch of shit that
I think I brought up how Star Wars did that with their characters, like Boba Fett, how he's in the movie like just a little bit, and then like he's barely in the movie, and then he became like a legacy character, and then later on it's like, oh, we have this whole backstory to Boba Fett even, and like things that really he only had like a minute of screen time, and the first time you see it probably didn't mean a whole lot to you, but then over time you're just like, every little aspect of this movie becomes like an important part of the canon, and so you gotta like extrapolate onto that, like you were saying with Janine, or and
again, Janine's great. Annie Potts is great. I just keep pointing to her because she's a receptionist in the first movie. Why does she have a cameo in everything? Like, it's I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I consider her part of the team, I guess, too, but it's very, she doesn't really do a whole lot in those movies. I don't know. It's a complicated thing to like continue franchises like that.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's why we're doing the show, and I'm very interested to see what happens in the next one.
Me too. I can't wait to see it.
I'm actually very excited. Yeah.
Me too.
When I first saw the trailer
land right now. Yeah.
Yeah. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, oh no, like another Ghostbusters. But now that we're going over everything, I'm getting more excited about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, Chris, do you have any beef or MVPs of this movie?
I think I've aired out my beef, and honestly, it's a pretty good movie, so I don't want to belabor my problems with this movie because it's a fun watch.
It's competent overall. Like, it's a competent movie. It's just it's too much like force-fed nostalgia.
Yes. Yeah, MVPs. We talked about maybe making the car the MVP. I loved all the changes that they built out there, and actually, with like making this movie in 2021, you were able to make those scenes a lot more fun. Yeah, I thought the actress who did Phoebe did a good job. I enjoyed the mom. Paul Rudd is hilarious in it. Yeah, I don't know. Who would you put the MVP for this thing?
Yeah, probably Phoebe and the car. Same exact.
Yeah.
I think my beef mainly is the name podcast.
You're just mad you didn't think of it first.
I mean, do they ever call him by his actual name? Does he have a
No,
real name? Where are his
we don't know.
parents?
We'll find out in Ghostbusters 6, the podcast origin story movie.
Frozen podcast.
Podcast the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so similar stuff there. All right, well, this movie made $204 million at the box office on a $75 million budget. So it was a success. They went about half the price as the 2016 movie, which is to its benefit.
Yeah. I didn't notice that
successes.
either, really.
Right.
Like it
I think
great.
I don't know. Budgets are so balloon. I don't even understand. I think it's just, they talk about how Dune was a lot cheaper than a lot of these movies, and it's because the director planned out all the storyboards ahead of time, before they started shooting and all this. Like, he knew exactly where he wanted to go. Having a plan for something helps a lot keep these budgets down. And I think with some of these superhero stuff, they just balloon out of control because they're rewriting and changing it as they go, and they don't know where they're going, so they have to reshoot and take forever. And anyway, so I feel like this movie, they had a plan of what they wanted to do, and they did it, whether it was successful or not. But I think it warranted a sequel. They obviously alluded to it and heavily set up this is the beginning of a new franchise, right?
Yeah.
Whether or not anybody really wants it, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the new one.
Frozen Empire.
Frozen Empire.
Is it Empire?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of exciting tidbits from this movie. I do think there's some funny tie-ins, which we talked about the Wonka tie-ins and stuff, going to IHOP and eating the Wonka burger.
Without a doubt.
And the Wonka pancakes, of course.
The high watermark of this podcast was when Tanner went to IHOP to eat that burger.
that was my favorite day. For sure.
Yeah, I still love it. Yeah.
So, people are wondering. I'm wondering what they're going to have for this new movie. Of course, there's the Slimer popcorn bucket, which I've heard about. It's just a giant Slimer bucket. This Afterlife movie had, let's see, it had a Ghostbusters marshmallow cereal. So it was looks like a Lucky Charms thing, but with the little Stay Puft guys in it. The cute ones, yeah. They had High C Ecto Cooler, which looks like just an orange drink, but with slime on the box.
They made this for a long time. They talked about that in the book that I read.
Oh, really?
High C made a ton of money off of this. This was a really good corporate tie-in for them. Yeah.
Oh, the Ecto Cooler had been around before Afterlife?
Yes, the Ecto Cooler had been around for a while. Yeah, that goes back to the 80s. Yep.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yep.
And then I just these things get a little crazy here. There's a Ghostbusters burger.
Oh my Lord.
A marshmallow mad burger. Look at that thing. How would you describe that? It's literally the buns are marshmallows. I think there's Oreos in there. That looks so bad.
Oh my Lord. It's just white and black too. Yeah, that looks disgusting. And then the GB burger on top, the buns are black.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like
something.
Shit. What is this restaurant? JS Burger Cafe? Okay.
It looks like it's in Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm seeing but then we got, let's see, Baskin Robbins Toasted Marshmallow Ghost Cup.
Ooh.
Ghostbusters Afterlife tie-in. See, that's what I want for this new movie. I want a little
A little sweet treat for you.
Something, yeah. Ghostbusters
Yeah.
theme. We can talk about it. And then we've got the Ghostbusters chicken sandwich, of course. Which is just
Also, I need to point out the little cutie marshmallow guys are in every single one of these pictures.
yeah, you're right.
Like, look at them there in the Baskin Robbins. They're the R. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so shameless. They're not even trying to hide that these are their little cutie advertising partners.
Yeah. Oh my lord. All right.
So yeah, hopefully by the time we do the next week's episode, I find some food tie-ins to eat. But
I mean, it seems like they called this movie Frozen Empire. If Baskin and Robbins did the last one and not this one, they need to fire their whole marketing team, right?
I mean, I did see that somebody had. Where did I see? There's like a frozen pizza, a Frozen Empire frozen pizza somewhere.
Of course there is. Yeah. I hope it has marshmallows on it.
Only frozen treats.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's all we got on Afterlife. Chris, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing on Afterlife. I got a little bit of milk this week, but I know you do as well. Should we switch into that?
Let's do it. What do you got?
Cool. Yeah, so this part of the show, we like to just kind of explore some of the other stuff that goes along with it. And so this week, I finished that book, the How Ghostbusters Slimed Us Forever, and it followed through this movie. So I think it was like a perfect time to finish that book. But the big one this week that I wanted to talk about, I read a series of comics, I think just comics, not a graphic novel, that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Ghostbusters. It's kind of a lazy premise. Basically, the Ninja Turtles create an interdimensional portal, and they try to use it to go surprise Splinter in the sewer, but they said it wrong, so they accidentally show up in the Ghostbusters version of New York City, because they're all New York City-based teams. And then there's a giant, evil, like Japanese immortal that has come back to life, and it has two little sidekicks that they have to defeat first, very reminiscent of Gozer. And and basically the Ninja Turtles have to work with the Ghostbusters to bring this guy down. It's kind of an anonymous bad guy. It's kind of a dumb setup for a story, but I actually thought that the two franchises worked kind of well together. Basically, Egon and Ray and Donatello were like in charge of the science and fixing the portal and figuring out how to defeat the bad guy. And then, Venkman and Leonardo and whatever would go out and, fight stuff. I, as a kid that grew up with Ghostbusters and Ninja Turtles, it was kind of a fun read. It's, I don't know that I would say go way out of your way to find this thing, because it's a little thrown together, but it's kind of a fun read. So I read those four eps this week, and Casey Jones makes an appearance. Quick appearance from what's his face? What's the little guy who lives inside the belly?
Krang.
Thank you. Krang shows up. All the Ghostbusters are there. It was a nice read. Pretty fun,
but not as like good as like the RoboCop Terminator crossover, which was
correct. I would definitely
perfect
agree with
match
that.
made in heaven kind of thing.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was a good read. And I got some more stuff for next week too. There's so much weird stuff around Ghostbusters.
I can't wait. Yeah, because I'm getting close to the end of my video games, and maybe I'll find some like the weird fringe Ghostbusters stuff for next week. Yeah. Are you you're good on your milk?
Good on my milk. Yeah. What do you got for us this week?
All right. Well, I played a bunch more video games. I played 3 and wanted to talk about a 4th one. The main one though that I wanted to talk about is I played the entire Ghostbusters the video game. From 2009. This was the remastered version that came out a few years ago, so it was very nice and updated graphics and stuff. And this game kicks ass. Like I talked a little bit about it before. It's like a full-on written story, fully voice acted with all the guys, the main crew, Ramus, all of them are in it. Janine. Um, it's kind of just a series of like you're going around capturing ghosts and killing monsters. The first boss you fight is a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow where you're like hanging down the side of a building and it's crawling up towards you and you're like shooting your blaster at it, and it's super cool. The technique of like capturing ghosts, like you blast them a lot till you get their power down, and then when their power's down, you like grab on and you throw your trap and bring them into the trap. It's like got the fully realized ghost busting gamification. Like
Okay.
it's truly good. I'm surprised they hadn't made a sequel like this in this style before, because they've made games since and they just have been trash. And it was popular, I think, when it came out. It sold like 3 million copies, I think I saw. Yeah, it's super fun. You have like different packs that you can change through that do different things. So one of them is like a slime pack that shoots like a tether that can open doors and do random things like move wheels, like a slime tether they call it. It's also used to like just slime things and like close rifts that open up with ghosts.
Okay.
You have the standard proton pack. You have like this little like shock blaster thing that kind of functions like a shotgun, but it like slows things down. And then you have like a machine gun version of it as well. And they each kind of serve their own purpose at different puzzle parts in the game. I will say there's a lot of like, I know they considered this one, or they've said they considered it almost Ghostbusters 3.
In the book I read, they said they
Yeah.
called this Ghostbusters 3 until the
Yeah.
people liked the game so much they thought they'd be able to finally make the movie after the game.
Right.
So then they changed it to just Ghostbusters. Yeah. So during
Yeah.
production, it was called Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah, it's the official title is Ghostbusters the video game. Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I guess they're all video games, but this is Ghostbusters the video game.
Okay.
But well, all the video games are called Ghostbusters anyway. Yeah, so I don't know. There's kind of some rehashing going on at the beginning with the Stay Puft Man, and Gozer talk and stuff like that, and you go capture the old gray woman from the library early on in the game, like the first ghost you see in the first movie, you know.
Yeah.
Which was kind of one of those moments where they're like, "Oh, let's take this tiny minor part in the movie and make it into this whole like level, and like she's like a super ghost as well." But then it kind of does its own thing, like I mentioned earlier. That goes in this whole thing with Shandor and makes some new villains and new enemies and stuff like that. And it's super good. At the end, you fight this giant demon hell beast. Who had been inhabiting like the mayor from the movies, and Peck is in the game from the first movie. Yeah, they did it really good, and it's funny and fun. It really does feel like a Ghostbusters game in every way, slamming ghosts down and trying to capture them. There's stuff with ley lines and Mandela maps and shit. But yeah, it's super good.
That's great, man.
I highly recommend it. I had a great time. Probably like 6 hours long only, so not too bad. And then on the other side of the coin here, I played something called Ghostbusters Sanctum of Slime, which came out like 2 years later.
I will say, much cooler title.
Oh, and that first game, I think you kind of mentioned, yeah, they used a lot of the script for the original Ghostbusters 3 for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I just thought that was interesting, and they were all game for it. It was very cool. And let's see, you can watch me play that whole game on YouTube. Ghostbusters Sanctum of Slime. This is just like a 4-player, I don't even know, twin stick shooter, I guess, where you're just kind of going around busting ghosts from the top down kind of thing. And you're going through rooms, and it's very basic, pretty lame. I had like a 15-minute demo of it, and that's all I needed to know.
What it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's aggressively mediocre, I wrote. The story is shown through comic book pages, which I don't know if it was taken from an actual comic book they released, but they were legitimately just like you're reading comic book pages, and there's a lot of it. Like I can't imagine you'd have to like stand up and get close to your TV to read all this stuff if you're playing this game.
Yikes.
So it's not great, but it's not the worst thing ever. There's this other game though that is maybe the worst thing ever, but I didn't get to play it. It's been completely delisted off of every platform. I couldn't even find a way to get a copy of it online from the Internet Archives or whatever.
That's incredible.
It's like buried.
I didn't think you could take anything off the internet, let alone a Ghostbusters game.
No, man, they delist games and you're not allowed to play them anymore if like
Okay.
they don't. Like this company, this is just called Ghostbusters. Came out in 2016 along with the other movie. Doesn't have the girls in it, but it has like just random new characters in it. And it's the exact same game as Sanctum and Slime, the same style, a top-down kind of twin stick shooter where you're just, ghosts are kind of coming in from windows and you're just shooting things with a top-down view with all 4 people. You can play 4-player co-op, which is kind of a cool feature, but yeah, I couldn't find a copy of it. I looked at it online. It's literally the same game as the Sanctum of Slime one that I just played.
And it came out in 2016?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, along with the reboot movie.
Okay.
So, yeah, I found a copy of it that I thought I was going to be able to emulate, but it didn't work. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And then, so that's those 2 things. And then the last thing I played briefly was this game that came out with Ghostbusters Afterlife, and it's a mobile game called Afterlife, Ghostbusters Afterlife Scare, but the AR is capitalized because it uses augmented reality technology.
Okay.
And it's kind of cool. It's really well done for what it is. The technology isn't there for AR, but it's like Pokemon Go in that way where you're looking through. It starts off with the podcast kid from the movie, just a video of him talking to you, and you're like, hey, we got to bust these ghosts or whatever he's saying. And you get like in the game, you're getting like text from him that you're seeing and calls from him and other characters from Afterlife. Really well done for what it is. And you're kind of cruising around just your living room and looking for ghosts. And then like I captured Muncher in my bedroom, basically.
So it's
not the first time I've said that. Let me run this
past you one more time. So it's like Pokemon Go, but you go around catching ghosts.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
Yeah. It's that AR technology could be really cool one day. It's a little janky, but it's like the proton pack comes out of my living room floor, and you go up to it, and just like, you can move the camera around it because now it's stationary. Yeah. But like you're moving around your room. And you can like see all sides of this thing. It's really kind of cool. But I did find myself just getting nauseous because when I'm fighting the ghost, I'm just like moving in a circle constantly because it'll like constantly move in a circle around you and try to evade you. But I'm just like spinning in a circle trying to catch this thing. So I started to get a little nauseous. But AR, I think, will be really cool in the future. And that name, Scare, pretty funny. But yeah, that's what I got there.
Man, I love it. How many Ghostbusters games have you played to this point?
Oh,
what are we at now? What's the count?
Probably 13.
It
4 weeks.
My brain that there are 13 video games based on this movie franchise. That's great.
Let's see. Yeah, 3 real Ghostbusters games. 4. Wait, is this the 3rd movie or the 4th movie?
Fourth movie.
Yeah, 3 Extreme Ghostbusters game, and then I had 6 games from before, so that's 9. Then I had 3 more here. Yeah, 12.
12.
I didn't actually get to play the 2016 one, so
okay.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty cool.
Love it, man.
And I got one more to play. There's a new one that's kind of like a newish one that's like a 4v1 multiplayer game, where you're like somebody plays the ghost and then the other 4 people are trying to catch him. and it's all multiplayer. So I'm gonna
Cool.
give that a shot here this week. Yep. Along with
Right
seeing
on,
the new
dude.
movie Frozen Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week if that's all we got. Yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing else here. Just a quick reminder, take a peek at the show notes, take our survey, help us make some jokes, and we'll read what you say first thing next week. But that's all I got on Ghostbusters Afterlife. Anything else from you, Tanner?
That's it. We did it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.